Good morning, everybody. Time for coffee and questions again. Now, you'll see in the picture that's up on the screen right now that I'm not using green screen. I'm remodeling this room that I'm in. So I've got everything tarped with plastic, and I decided because the dog door was damaged, I was going to replace the dog door. So I'll throw up some pictures here in a minute, and we'll discuss the problems that I ran into in the installation of the dog door, and I'll show you the wall and everything that I put it in. This was a project I thought was going to take like a couple of hours, and then I would begin my painting of the room. Well, it took almost 5 hours, and I ran into several complications. So if you're going to install one, hopefully you get something out of this and you don't step into the same little traps that I did, but everything worked fine in the end. Let me throw up some pictures. We'll have a further discussion. Give me just a sec. Okay, I threw up some pictures here, but before we get into the coffee and questions part of things, let me explain the overall project. Now, on the top left, that's not my photograph. The one in the middle and the one on the other side on the right, those are. But it comes with a template, and I would encourage you definitely use the template. And what I did is what this guy did in the picture is I masked it up on the outside of my wall. Now, I was replacing one that was there, but because it was a bigger one than the one I had before, I still use the template. And I always put a center hole through it, and I reach in there with this wire and I fish around to see if there's any obstructions or anything or wire or whatever in there. It's just a kind of a cheesy way of being able to tell what's in the wall, but I knew already because of the pre-existing door that was there that I was going to be replacing. But this is a picture of the template. Now in the middle, this is mine for real. And like I said, it took me 5 hours. I'm not somebody that installs these all the time. And I did not buy the additional wall mount kit. On my original purchase, what was sent to me is the dog door complete, and it's meant to go in a door, a standard 1 3/4 inch door. I didn't want to put it in the door, I wanted to put it in the wall. Well, you can also buy an additional wall mount kit, which I didn't do. I figured I can do like I did before, and I'll make my own trim work and everything. So anyway, I lined it up, then I cut it out. You'll see right here, there's a bit of a mess here and a crowbar and all this stuff. And it was, it was a pain. Truthfully, because I wanted to cut it real precise because I didn't want to have to do a lot of patching. So this is the way that I did it. There's the mess. It's right by a sliding glass door. Now the one on the far right is a picture of the interior. Now what I ran into is it was going to run into another box that I had for a surround sound system. And I thought, no big deal, I'll get rid of the box. Well, along with that, so close to the edge, was an electrical outlet. So what I did is I cut into it, had to move it up and out of the way. I couldn't move it exactly where I wanted it without a lot of difficulty because electrical wiring wasn't that long. So I just have to live with it where I decided to put it. But I got it all cut out. I got everything cleaned up. This is not 2x4 framing, it's 2x6 framing. Okay, now I'm telling you that for a reason, as I ran into a little problem. I'll explain it as we go on. I got it all cleaned up. I got my box relocated. Everything looked fine. Okay, now let me throw up some pictures and we'll go forward with a discussion, and then we'll do the questions and answers. One moment. Okay, here's a picture that I got off of Amazon of what I bought exactly. And all the things on here are true. It's got the sizes and all that. So you can go to the questions and answers and look up a ton of different stuff. Or you can go through the customer review part of this, and you can take a look and see what other people have to say. They bought all different sizes, so there's tons and tons of comments. I'm not going to go through all those. I'm just going to tell you about my experience and what I did. So this is it. This is what I bought. You can pause it, take a closer look at it. I got a good price on it. I got it through warehouse deals. I got it a little bit cheaper than what the advertised price is here. But you take a look around, still, this is a good price. Compared to what you're getting, it's a very sturdy, durable product. Okay, put up some photos here, and the one on the upper left is showing you how it came packaged. I'm not going to do an unpackaging. I didn't even do a video on this. It would have been so long. It was incredible on this installation. Okay, so let's get into the questions and answers part of this, and we'll go from there. I'll start reading the questions that were emailed to me and on the forum, and let's see if we can pick up some tips and tricks here. One of the reasons why it took me, why did it take you so long? Why did it take you 5 hours? Well, take a look at the pictures over on the left, those first two, and you'll see I had to do a lot of cutting. I had to move an electrical box. Then I had a lot of patching to do. On the outside, you can see on that second picture from the left, I didn't have to really do anything with the stucco on the outside. I was able to cut that, evenly and perfectly as the picture on the far left shows you. But take a look at the second one in from the left. I mean, you can see on the inside I had to reroute some electrical. That required me then to do some drywall patching. So I went down, got some scrap drywall. I put that in. Taping paper, taping mud, taped it off, and then you got to let it dry. But I used that 45-minute speedy patch, so I was able to knock it down, make it smooth, and get it ready for for painting. So that took me a little bit of time. Now take a look at the one on the far right. You'll see those black dots. Those are special screws. I had to go back down to the hardware store later on in the day because the kit does not come with screws long enough to secure this, because my framing were 2x6 frames, 2x6 wood frame, and the screws that came with it they're probably for door installation and they're not for thicker walls. So I needed 4.5 inches what I used screws. So anyway, I had to make a second trip down to the hardware store because I was determined to finish this by evening. And so anyway, I went down, got the screws, come back, and after the drywall patching work was done, I went ahead and used those, and you can see there's 4 of them on the inside. And actually I went back to the outside and I replaced 4 of them out there too with these sturdier steel screws. No, I did not use drywall screws, and I wouldn't do that. I used good quality steel screws. You can buy them individually down at my local hardware store. Okay, so next question. Well, if you notice what if you notice additional leaks around the flaps on the door? You can get strip magnets. You can use a little bit of hot glue or something. Somebody suggested that. I don't have that problem right now, but that's the route that I would go. And you can use these little strip magnets and make it like much more airtight if that's what you wanted to do. I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's very easy to do. Yeah, it comes with a safety door. I showed you in a previous picture. You can drop that in, block them out. That's standard, I think, in all kits. I think these Ruff Weather doors are the best. The one that I took down previous to this that my dog broke was a Ruff Weather. It really withstands the test of time. It's very durable. So I went back with what I know works. That's the reason why I bought this one. If you're going to put it, okay. Question is it easier to put into a door? Yes, because that's what this is meant for, 1 3/4 inch door. You're going to put it in a wall, you got a little bit more of a challenge like I did. Okay, now I ran into probably a little bit more challenges than most people do if they install it in a wall. But yes, it can be done. I did not buy the extended mount kit that you can buy for wall installation, because if you take a look at the third picture in from the left, the one that's showing it's secured on the outside, take a real close look. I use like this real thin, like a tongue and groove kind of a wood that I found out at Home Depot. I brought it back, I cut it to length, I cut it to width, and I dropped it in there. Now you could also put a piece of carpeting in that middle part if you wanted to too. People have done that. I just chose to use this wood, and it came pre-painted white, and it matched the dog door, so that was kind of an easy thing. It just takes a little bit of time to cut it to the length and the width. And I went all the way around the inside perimeter, bottom, top, right, left. And that's the way I did it, and it looks great. Now I saved some money by not buying the extended kit, but that's your choice. How are the instructions that came with it? I think that they are very well done instructions. Most things that come with instructions kind of suck. These ones are well thought out, and they work perfectly fine, especially for door installation. Wall installation gives you a general idea on the instructions, but you're going to run into these little quirky things along the way. It was pretty straightforward. If I didn't have the electrical and all this other stuff, it would have went much easier. And then instead of, like I said, the extended mount kit or whatever, put your own trim in there like I did, it would have went much smoother, much quicker. The only thing would have been I still would have needed the screws. Well, yeah, my intent was not to spend that length of time on it. It was to only, like I said, a couple of hours, and then I would get on with the painting of the room. I was able to start the painting of the room. Like I said, it took me a good 5 hours because of all the 2 trips to the hardware store and the things that I had to do. Overall, not a lot of questions on this. It's a very specific thing that we're talking about and a how-to project. It's not hard. Use the template. You have instructions that come with it. Take your time, okay? Don't be in a rush. That's the key to this. Make sure that you use a level. Once you've made your first mark on how high you want it up, okay, make a line so that the template can sit perfectly on the line, but use a level to make sure that that line is totally, not just straight, but you've got it level so it doesn't come out cockeyed in the end, okay? And then you're able to make these holes perfectly fine just by, now I used the other question is, would you use to cut it? You can use a lot of different things. I used a 4.5 inch angle grinder, and I've got a diamond blade, and it probably took me less than 2 minutes to cut this hole. And on the inside, I just used a little hand drywall saw. But there's lots of different tools, of course, that you can use. But again, it just took me a few minutes, even by hand, to cut out one square. So, and then after that, your holes are already marked on the template. It's just a matter. I drilled pilot holes. I also used good quality steel screws. The ones that I went down and bought, paid about $1 a piece or whatever it was for them. And no, I didn't use drywall screws. All right, anybody got anything else? Question, what materials did I use for the drywall repair? Well, down at the supply store, they gave me some scrap drywall for free off of a broken sheet, and I'm all about free. And you can use a small container of taping mud if you want to, but the set time is going to be much, much longer. And if you have to sand it and put a second coat over it, you're really stretching out the time frame it'll take to complete the project. So I went ahead and I bought 45-minute set Speedy Patch, which is just a taping mud powder, and you can mix up what you want. And actually, in terms of storing it, I mean, this is much better for storing, because with the liquid type taping mud stuff, it starts to harden on top. One way around that, of course, is to put a little bit of water in there so it covers the taping mud totally. And when you go to use it, just dump that water off the top of it, but it stops that top from starting to set up and get hard. Then you have to dig that off of there and play around, and you get particles and a little bit of a headache. But the powdered stuff is great because I can pour in the exact amount that I want. I can mix it up if I need more. I just go mix up more. It sets hard in 45 minutes. I can sand it. I can put the second coat on, and texture it or whatever I have to do. Let it set, hit it very lightly, paint it, you're done. That's the route that I went, but you can go the other route too. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. I use standard taping paper. I make meshed, taping paper also. I do have some of that. I just grabbed what I had at hand. This is a very small, repair, and it came out perfectly fine. You can't even tell that the patch was even done. Okay, so that's what I used on that. Any other questions before we wrap this up? What's today's game plan? Well, a boring day. Turn the radio on and paint this room that you see in back of me. You can see I've got it partially painted, but that's today's project. And no, I'm not doing a video on painting. That's the most boring thing in the world to watch outside of this video, which is putting this dog door in. I'm sure, like I said, unless you have a very specific need to do what I was doing, that's something you're going to sit and watch all the way through. No, you're right about your question. Your question is, did I have to relocate that fire block that I see on the picture? Second one in from the left, yes, I did. But I have scrap 2x6 laying around, or I could have, if I was careful, probably reuse the one that I took out, because it's just toe-nailed in at angles. So use a cat's paw, kind of a crowbar, pull it out. You could probably reuse it. But yes, I had to take that out, and I had to raise it to the height that you see the cutout is, and and put it back in. That way, I have wood going around the total inside of this, so that when the dog door goes on there and you screw those screws from both sides, the inside and the out, it will go directly into wood, okay? Because you don't want them just going into air. Now, you'll see the screw holes are down the side, but still, I've got them going across because it gives it that additional support. And if I ever had to drill a hole into this plastic on the top or the bottom for some reason, I could secure it. You're just better off making one wood frame within the wall. No, you didn't have to. You could have gotten away with just taking the fire block out and not using it, but I didn't choose to do it that way, so I put it back in. Yes, you are right. I didn't explain that, but yes. Question, what's that taped on the wall on the second from the left? Those are the instructions, just to remind me you're not always as smart as you think you are. So it would be a good idea for you to glance over and read the instructions. I mean, just to make sure that you're not missing anything. Quite possible you can. It doesn't hurt just to spend the time to read the instructions. It's always a good thing. I had somebody write me, theirs didn't come out like they wanted. What can I do about it? I said, well, just repatch it, let it dry, let it set good. Use the template this time. Use a level after you make the mark like I told you. Tape your template, mark it out. It's a no-brainer, really. Do the same thing on the opposite side. You cut out one side, and actually it's almost going to show you how to do the opposite side. So this is kind of a straightforward project. I was slow about it. I don't speed through this stuff, especially when I'm not an expert at installing. Slow, steady, do it right, let it turn out perfectly fine. If you rush through this is when shit starts to happen, okay? So take your time. It'll work. Okay, that's it for this project. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll see you on the next video, and I hope you got something out of this. Thank you very much. Hit subscribe. Bye-bye.